Material developments are at the centre of design innovation. In this climate of diminishing resources, there is a growing acceptance of the necessity to address sustainability in the fashion industry. Practices of recycling, research into biogenesis, and the introduction of 3D rapid prototyping are together re-evaluating our choice of source materials, processes, and material lifespans. My master's project will take a playful approach to material developments by subverting traditionally low-grade materials into luxury products. I will question, can the process of recycling create a visual language which in itself becomes appealing to the contemporary luxury fashion market? The luxury fashion market values rarity and exclusivity, so it's not a welcoming environment for recycled materials. Thinking about all of the waste leather in the shoemaking process, but keeping in mind the luxury footwear market, I started to wonder, there must be a way to use waste materials not just for the sake of recycling, but so the process of recycling is seen as a craft, and the aesthetic qualities of the recycled material are desirable, unique, and attractive in themselves. Object designer Tim Parsons worked with manufacturers A.R. Wentworths of Sheffield to produce a pewter drip cast bowl. Waste material from the lathe is remelted and the temperature is monitored to keep the flow rate of the pewter under control. The molten pewter is drizzled over a steel form, solidifying immediately, and the surface is built up to the desired thickness. After removing it from the form, the base is flattened and the piece is buffed and polished. Parsons' drip casting technique shows how the production method itself can serve as inspiration for the aesthetic outcome of an object. The material's natural properties form to create, as Parsons describes, a decorative snapshot of the production process, clearly showing the metal's once liquid state. Another example of this approach to aesthetics derived from process is the Paper Pool series by David Hockney, where he created pressed colour pulp pictures which depicted the play of light on water. Pigmented paper pulps were spooned into steel moulds which separated the colours into bold shapes. The pulps were then pressed under great pressure until completely flat and all moisture was removed. Hockney created a sheet of paper which encapsulated his image, rather than applying colour to the surface. I drew from these examples and found an answer in composite and laminated materials. In these aggregate materials, I see an opportunity to play on the notion of what constitutes luxury by using their very nature of amalgamation to create an appealing effect which also visually references the making process and the recycling process, in this way potentially validating the practice of recycling in the luxury realm. My MA work through Unit 1 and 2 has focused on appropriating ordinary materials and basic forms to create a sense of playfulness by subverting them to produce luxury footwear. My most successful research so far has focused on developing a new leather composite material which I've used on heels and soles. It is made by recycling waste leather particles by casting them in resin, creating a granite-like material, or in rubber for a softer, more casual version. I have also experimented with laminating newspaper back into a form similar to wood and stacking leather while wet moulding perpendicular to its grain to create sturdy, layered panels and straps. In Unit 2, I worked on designing a new closure component in the form of a metal U-bar, which I prototyped as a non-functional version. The interconnectivity of different sections of the shoe and how they join has also become an important and distinctive feature of my footwear. I intend to capitalize on my work to date by extending my research from Units 1 and 2 in my master's project. My aims are to further explore the aesthetic qualities intrinsic in composite and laminated materials, to investigate ways to translate the materials into luxury footwear and fashion products, to expand the scope and uses for the material, and to develop the component into a functioning closure. The project will culminate in a range of men's and women's footwear and complementary fashion products, which may include bags and sunglasses, for the contemporary luxury fashion market. The collection will consist of at least 6 finished products and should utilise my new composite material and showcase my research. In order to extend the functionality of the leather composite materials, I will test new bonding agents which could include different types of resins and rubbers, which might enable the materials to be used on new parts of the shoe, like footwear uppers, on hardware components, or on complementary accessories, such as rubberized panels on bags or frames for eyewear. Up until now, I have made the forms by hand from wood and created silicone molds from these, which the composites have been cast in. Moving forward, the forms may need to involve 3D scanning and CNC routing or 3D nylon printing, as they will be much more intricate and potentially need to be more ergonomically designed. The process of laminating newspaper that I previously tested involved moulding around a form, as I would normally do while stacking leather, but this caused problems with drying. Moving forward, I intend to create blocks which are treated like wood and cut into. There may also be an option to try laminating different types of paper or even fabrics and mixed materials along with stacked leather to achieve an even more layered effect. The metal U-bar component could be made in one of 2 ways. The first method would involve adapting this working clasp, which has the correct mechanism inside, using skills of sawing, moulding, soldering and polishing learned in Unit 2. The second option is to 3D print the component in 3 parts. This CAD would be converted into a Rhino file and printed in plastics first. Once the mechanism is working, it can be printed in sterling silver, using an online service such as Shapeways. The 3 parts would then be assembled with the spring. In the hope of adapting the composite material in the use of making eyewear and bags, I've enlisted the help of sunglass designer Brian McGinn and bag designer David Tracy. This collection of men's and women's footwear and fashion products is intended for the contemporary luxury fashion market. As an emerging and growing market sector which has aspirational appeal and more permissive price brackets, I feel this is the best place to position my products, which share a somewhat casual and more youthful handwriting. Playfulness, bold colour, and naive forms are central to my own aesthetic values and are important in creating a consistently recognisable handwriting through my work. The material approaches I've outlined lend themselves to this aesthetic, which I believe sits comfortably within the contemporary luxury fashion market, while also offering something new through innovation and material development.